before I make any closing remarks, I would like to understand whether you have any questions for me about anything.
What about the restriction of time? You don't have, some people like to talk a lot.
Very good question. Very good. So here's the question. The question is, what about the restriction of time? And in the HVAC book, the customer service book, there's a subchapter on handling verbose customers. The word verbose, V-E-R-B-O-S-E, means someone who likes to talk a lot. When you encounter a verbose customer and you know, okay, I've already heard the symptom once. Now they're saying it a second time. I don't need to hear it a second time. So whenever you start to experience someone who is verbose, you politely interject, and what you say is something such as, okay, Mr. Smith, I think I have all the information that I need right now. May I get started on this? And just ask a question. Wait for the yes or wait for the no. Once you know you've got all the information and they've gone through the whole symptom once, if they become repetitive, that's your cue. You make the eye contact, you do it as politely as possible. Do it with a smile on your face. A verbose customer is outside of your sphere. So to influence that person, you have to be really good at controlling this. Is that helpful? Other questions? Yes?
Say a customer asks you a question that you don't know, and how would you go about?
Very good. Good question. The question is, say the customer asks you a question and you don't know the answer. Let me start by saying the words that a customer should not have to hear is, I don't know. Okay, those are the words customers should not have to hear. So when someone asks you something and you don't know the answer, saying, we can handle that. May I just get a couple of minutes so I can double check something? Give yourself a little time, go back to the truck. If you have to make a call, go back to the truck. Better to do that than make a call from the customer's home. Okay? The pronoun we is a constructive pronoun. We can handle that. Just give me a couple of minutes to double check something. And just like that. Okay? Is that helpful?
Yep.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes?
I was actually wondering, you have a lot of good things you're talking about. I wonder if you had ever heard of the feel, felt, down technique. I had an issue one time where I was with like this lady, she kept calling me to her office to fix her lights. It was because her bookshelf was in front of her light switch. She didn't want the bookshelf moved. And I was like, okay, I can't fix it because the problem is the bookshelf won't move. So one day I'm just like, I feel where you're coming from. I used to feel the same way, it's my bookshelf, why should I move it? But I found by moving my bookshelf, I saved money because I don't have to deal with the problem anymore. So I was wondering, if that's a really good thing, the customers just want to yell at you all day long. Because then you're like, hey, I feel you, we're friends.
Yeah. Well, Joe, let's look it up. What do you think? Let's look it up. So on page 68 of the book, the 3F method, feel, felt, and found. It's on page 68. Where did I get it? Amazon sells them. I think Dick may be able to get you one. So yeah, that's a good technique. Words are so powerful, Joe, and having a good vernacular and a good vocabulary, a good articulate tone of voice, it speaks volumes about you, and people will assume, wow, he's pretty smart. Now, you may be or you may not be, but if you sound like you're smart, you're smart. It's a first impression. It's their final decision. So being articulate is important, and having the right language and using the right words and applying them. Good question. Thank you. Other questions? Yes?
Whether you're dealing with residential, commercial, you go to a customer and you've just got an expensive part that is beyond repair, it's going to have to be replaced. That customer's upset, thinking that maybe that you or your company that you represent is trying to fleece him or her by charging them some exorbitant price replacing a part that doesn't need to be replaced. In their mind, they think it might not be replaced. How would you handle a situation like that?
So if a customer starts to assume that you might be overcharging them for something. Customers can make assumptions all day long about things like that. Customers also now have the opportunity to go online So they'll say, what part's that called? It's a compressor, which type? And then they'll go online, look it up, and say, what are you guys charging me this for? It says online it's only that. And you get customers who think they know everything about air conditioners because they've read a couple of sentences online. Whenever the discussion of price becomes an issue, it's because there is a misperception about value. So customers who are going to balk about price, they may go into the category of what we may call high maintenance type of customers, and they can be turned around based on how good we can manage what's within our sphere. So whenever customers start to talk about price, we need to be prepared to talk about value. So a response may be something like, I understand, it's not an inexpensive part. However, this part is factory authorized. I am factory certified. So by installing this part, it's covered under a warranty. If there's any issues, the same way that I'm here today, I'll be back again, and I will take care of it. But based on our history, this is a very stable part. And the service we provide is the highest level service. It's the service our customers have come to expect. So we need to be prepared to have something as articulate and scripted as that. When they talk about price, we need to have a response that speaks about value. So shifting the conversation isn't easy, and you have to look the part. So maybe that what I just said needs to be memorized. It's on video, right? So we can watch it again and we can memorize it. Is that helpful? Thank you. Other questions? Yes?
How about dealing with the customer when the problem's their fault? You don't want to make them feel stupid about it.
Oh, make them feel stupid. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So customers are interesting in that they will try to save a buck. So if there's a problem with the thermostat or something else, they'll take it off the wall and probe around and realize they're in over their head, and then finally call a contractor. Contractor shows up and looks at things and says, oh, someone was tampering with this. You can tell when someone's been tampering it. And whenever a customer has been tampering with something and you find it, think about pronoun substitution. And this is in the book. So rather than say, you broke it, it would be better to say something such as, this was not designed to operate under these conditions. Completely change the phrase. And when you take the word you out of the sentence, you're minimizing the blame. You is like that finger pointing in your chest. You screwed up. You know, no one wants to hear that. But when you say this wasn't designed to operate under these conditions, now you've completely changed the scenario. Now, when you protect the customer's self-esteem, they are going to respond by feeling to themselves, it's going to be fixed. And that is the halo effect. When they feel relieved because you're fixing the problem and you're not blaming them. Always minimize blame every chance we get. If they pay their bills and they're a good customer, do it. Other questions? Was that helpful, by the way? Other questions?
How about that example you had of the facilities manager and the...
Oh, yeah, okay. I was out in the field Monday morning. I was in Baltimore Monday morning with a couple of technicians. They were fire protection technicians. So they were doing municipal and public buildings, and they were inspecting all the sprinklers and the fire extinguishers. And I was out with the technicians, and my job with my clipboard is to assess. I'm there to inspect. I'm listening to what they say. I'm looking at the way they look, at their truck. One guy got real upset because I met him in the parking lot of the facility, and as he got out of his truck, I ran over to the truck and I said, okay, leave the door open. I want to take a photo of the inside of your truck. And he's like, oh, no. I said, sorry. Took a photo of the inside of his truck. It was a mess. First impression, but that's my job. So when we were in this one facility, the building engineer, the property manager guy, he's the customer, and he's got to make sure that all the alarms get defeated. So when they start to work on the system, the alarms don't go off. So I asked him. I said, what do you find value in when you work with a company like this? What's valuable to you? And he did not hesitate a second. That building engineer said only two things. Number one, never make me look like an idiot in front of the fire marshal. Make sure everything works and everything is stable. So when we get inspected, I look good. And the second thing he said, be on time. Two things. Now that building engineer, he wants to feel good about his job. He had an experience with a different fire protection company who made him look bad in front of the fire marshal. And what does that do? That damages his ego. People have egos. They want to feel good. So he's okay spending more money getting a better fire protection company that's going to make him look good. And those are the things customers care about. They want to feel good. They want to look good. And what they're interested in really isn't too complex. It's pretty easy. Thanks, Dick, for the reminder. Good job. Okay, I'm going to make my closing remarks now. When I was a teenager, at about 16 years old, one Sunday afternoon, my friends wanted to go roller skating. We went to the roller skating rink. It was my first time, so after I put on my skates, I had to hold on to the rail. Remember the rail at roller skating rinks? So there I was, feeling like a dork, holding on to the rail while my friends were skating, but I wanted to show off with my friends. So after I got some balance, I let go of the rail, I got onto the rink, and I started to skate. And I was skating and whizzing down that rink. And around the rink were these barriers around this tall, and as an amateur skater, I didn't know how to stop yet. And there I was, whizzing down the rink, hit the barrier, flipped over the barrier, landed on the other side, and my right arm hurt badly. Bad enough that I knew I had to go home. So my friends helped me to get the skates off. I went home. I complained to my dad, and based on the pain he saw me experiencing, he brought me to the local emergency room, where after an x-ray, I was diagnosed with a broken arm. That Sunday night, came back from the emergency room with a 90-degree cast on my right arm, from my hand all the way up to my shoulder. And walked into the house, and my mom, in her interesting and assertive manner, invites me into the dining room. She says, "Stephen, sit down at the dining room table. I'll be back in just a moment." My mom goes into the kitchen. She grabs a pen and a pad, sits down next to me at the dining room table, and Mom says, "Stephen, tomorrow is Monday, and you're going to school, so you better start learning how to write with your left hand." Sat me down at that dining room table, and there I was, stumbling away trying to figure this out. And Monday I went to school, and I was stumbling my way through it. Tuesday, a little better. By the end of that week, I was writing proficiently with my left hand. That year, I was a lefty for 4 months. Now, my mom, when she saw me come into the house with that 90-degree cast, she did not see a disabled teenager. What she saw was a teenager with latent potential. The word latent means unused. It means untapped. That I had this potential that wasn't being used. I could have been a left-hand writer any time during those first 16 years. That Sunday night, my mom made me sit down and do it. I assure you that there is latent potential in this room. You all have it. And what is required is a person with enough wisdom and a person with enough courage to reach in, dig deep, grab your potential that's latent, bring it up to the surface, and put it to good use. And when that happens, you start to convey world-class service performance. So being with you here this afternoon has been special for me. I thank you for your questions. I thank you for your attention. And I wish you all lots of success. Have a great evening.